A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord, and in our headlines, more shopping changes for the COVID-19 lockdown. They include gas stations and supermarkets. Thousands more apply for unemployment benefits in Barbados. Reaction to the passing of a political stalwart. And in sports, all athletes in the Barbados-Argentina exchange program accounted for and doing well amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
In our top story, Barbados remains under a 24-hour curfew at least until May 4th, but authorities have changed some of the shopping guidelines. Acting Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw gave the updates during a media conference from the Alara Court this afternoon. Among the amendments is a change to the use of the surname system at gas stations.
Effective immediately, gas station operators will discontinue the use of the alphabet system of surnames when it comes to the purchase of fuels such as gasoline, diesel and kerosene, liquefied petroleum gas, as well as cellular top-ups. Grocery shopping at supermarkets and mini-marts may now start at 7 a.m. and run until 4 p.m., while maintaining the previously mentioned break at 11 a.m. However, we've advised the supermarket operators that they can continue to process the shoppers who are at the lines in the queues at the cutoff times.
Ms. Bradshaw also announced special arrangements for those scheduled to shop on Heroes Day and May Day.
In light of the public holidays on April 28th, Heroes Day, and May 1st, May Day, individuals who would have been permitted to shop on those days using the alphabet system will now be permitted to shop during the times allocated to essential workers next week only. That is on Sunday, April 26th, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., and on Thursday, April 30th, between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. These time slots have been selected based on the feedback from the operators of the various supermarkets, who note that the shopping traffic for these particular categories has been quite manageable at those times.
Now, with the major shift to online teaching, computer stores have also been given permission to operate, but only via online shopping and curbside pickup or delivery, and using the surname system. And with no specific date for the formal resumption of in-school classes, the acting Prime Minister says government is working to ensure that no child is left behind.
We recognize that not every child or household has access to the necessary equipment, internet connectivity, or even electricity. But we're working with these various service providers and or overseas suppliers to address this in the shortest possible time. We recognize too that a number of individuals and entities have actually already offered to assist with the donation of equipment to ensure, as much as is possible, a leveling of the playing field.
Also speaking at the media conference was Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, who announced that in addition to 27,000 tests as of midday, the country had been able to acquire 2,800 testing swabs. During yesterday's tour of the temporary field medical facility at Gemmitt's Lane, the Health Minister had revealed a shortage of swabs had previously constrained the island from being able to expand testing. But he says with the swabs now available, the criteria for testing will be widened to ensure there is no community transmission.
We are going to revise the testing criteria, and the Emergency Operations Center will put out a new document that will be sent to service organizations such as our councils, Medical Council, Nursing Council, Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners, and to all other stakeholders, including pharmacists and pharmacies, so that we are all on the same sheet of music. And we will also be listing shortly a number of centers which include the existing polyclinics where you will be able to go to have those tests done.
The health minister has also announced 4 more people were to be released from isolation today after testing negative for COVID-19. This as for the 5th straight day, no new cases were recorded on the island. The 4 people who tested negative for the second time were among a total of 28 tests carried out yesterday by the Besto Santos Public Health Lab. Now, since February 11th, a total of 1,063 tests have been carried out. The total number of recoveries from COVID-19 is now 23, with 47 people still in isolation. The national total positive cases remains at 75 and 5 deaths have been recorded. Minister Bostic also noted that the process of moving patients to the Harrison Point facility has started.
Yesterday, the Harrison Point Isolation Facility was stood up and received its first 3 patients. Those patients were transferred from the isolation center at Enmore. And today, the process started for persons to be transferred from Blackman Gullah to Harrison Point, and that will be ongoing throughout the week because it is a fairly delicate procedure that has to take place, and we are doing so very, very carefully. So we'll take our time to make sure that we get those persons transferred to Harrison Point as soon as is possible.
Barbados has asked the International Monetary Fund for an ease on some of the fiscal targets under the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation, or BERT program. That's according to Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comachong, and he was a guest on CBC TV 8's Morning Barbados.
So we are saying suspend, for example, this requirement that the Barbados government cut its spending, because we can't afford to cut spending now. In fact, we need to engage in additional spending on things pertaining to the public health crisis and also the social crisis. We have to provide for the Barbadians who are unemployed, etc. And yes. we're also saying that at this time, rather than the IMF insisting on receiving debt payments from countries in IMF programs, let us permit those payments to go instead to COVID-related response spending.
Former Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly and former parliamentary representative for Christchurch West Central, Joe Edgell, is dead. He passed away earlier today. Rianne Phillips reports.
All over the world.
Joseph Joe Edgell served the Christchurch West Central constituency from 1994 to 2008, assisting with the development of several social and sporting programs there. He was a pharmacist by profession and often spoke on health matters during parliamentary debates.
If the middle class or the upper middle class persons need to use the real brand names, especially in the case of Norvas, I personally think that those people should be willing to pay the difference between the generic drug and the regular cost and the real cost of the very expensive drug.
Only last November, a play park in the constituency was renamed in his honor. Acting Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw paid tribute to the fallen comrade at the start of today's national address.
I had the good fortune a few months ago of officiating at a ceremony in Gall Hill in recognition and honor of the service of Mr. Joe Edgell, and I can attest to the high esteem in which he was held by the people of that constituency. I'm sure that at the earliest opportunity, a thorough tribute will be paid to Mr. Edgell by the Parliament of Barbados. To his wife Angela and other family and friends, we express sympathy and God's richest blessing on this sad occasion.
One of Mr. Edgell's successors and the current parliamentary representative for Christchurch West Central, Youth Minister Adrian Ford, reflected on his life.
Joe was not a politician who saw B and D in Christchurch West Central, a constituency which he often referred to as the epicenter of Christchurch. Joe loved Christchurch West Central. He had his heart. Every breath that he breathed represented collectively all the air that transcended across Christchurch West Central. He believed that he could have made a difference in the lives of ordinary people.
Apart from his involvement in the political arena, Mr. Edgell was involved in several ventures such as the Oisins Fish Festival, Southern Stars Calypso Tent, Exotic Song Band, JJ Promotions, the Pharmaceutical Society, and the Barbados Football Association. May he rest in peace.
An additional 2,000 Barbadians have applied for unemployment benefits over the past 9 days. Now, during her address to the nation on April 11th, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley revealed the National Insurance Office had received just under 14,000 applications since the middle of March. But speaking on the People's Business last night, Labour Minister Colin Jordan indicated the number had increased.
At this point, I think we may be closer to about 16,000. And so what is happening across the world has not skirted our shores. And because of the closures of business, because of the closing of the borders, we have tourism, which is one of our major employers, almost at a standstill. And so there are thousands of persons who are not employed at the moment. We have kept open essential services and made some adjustments to those over time. But the bulk of the economy would be operating at a very slow pace at the moment.
Well, Acting General Secretary of the National Union of Public Workers, Delcia Burke, reveals that civil servants have so far been spared.
Workers are either on the job in the office or working from home, or some of them are at home and not working but being paid. But the UPW recognizes that Barbados is driven by tourism. And if this situation continues for much longer, we suspect that it is going to have an impact on employment in the public service.
With local curfew measures still in effect, child's right defender Faith Marshall Harris is calling on parents to engage their children in wholesome activities. She says now is the time for parents to bond with their offspring instead of allowing them just to watch TV. Speaking to CBC News, she shared some ideas which families could adopt indoors or outdoors within the confines of their curtilage.
Boys used to pitch marbles, and it took very little space to do that in. And I think you could encourage them to pitch marbles. You can encourage, and I've seen adults pitching marbles with children in other better days, and I think it's something that you should reintroduce. They can play hopscotch. I've recommended that. Takes a little space, and it's something that probably our children need teaching again because these things have been abandoned. Children you can skip with almost any. I'm sure you can find something to make a skip and rope around the house.
Well, motorists are being reminded they are legally required to stop when approached by an emergency vehicle with its siren on or lights flashing. This from Sergeant Siebert Johnson of the Traffic Division of the Royal Barbados Police Force. His advice comes amid concerns by some drivers about being stopped by lawmen in unmarked police vehicles.
Under Section 32 of the Road Traffic Regulations 184, it states that on the approach or the sound of an emergency vehicle is deemed as the police, fire, ambulance, BDF, DEM, the present vehicle. Remember, the sound of the siren or the flashing of lights, you will pull up on the left side of the road and stop and remain stationary until that vehicle passes. It never said marked or unmarked. It said on the sound of a siren or the flashing lights of an emergency vehicle. All emergency vehicles don't have logos. Some are unmarked.
Well, Sergeant Johnson was speaking during the traffic report segment of Morning Barbados. He says he has received several calls over the weekend about information being circulated on social media alleging individuals looking to commit criminal activity have been knocking on people's doors. Sergeant Johnson has offered this advice.
Do not open your doors whatsoever for persons who you do not recognize, despite whatever hour the day is. And you don't recognize the person, do not. If you have suspicion about this person, call the police. Let's respond and let's see what it's all about.
Still to come, a warning that next year's Olympic Games may be unrealistic unless a vaccine against the coronavirus is developed by then, and more reports of St. Catherine residents migrating to the parish of St. James despite the COVID-19 lockdown. But here is a tip now from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Maintain at least a 6 feet distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Cooperators General Insurance, encouraging you to stay home and stay safe.
Regional stories now. In Jamaica, health officials and the Jamaica Constabulary Force are still carrying out operations to locate residents from St. Catherine. Now, this follows more reports of people from the area migrating to the parish of St. James amid the COVID-19 lockdown.
Several more St. Catherine residents have been discovered in St. James and placed in state quarantine. This follows a joint operation in the parish by the St. James Health Department and the police. The most recent arrest was caught on camera, with the residents protesting about 2 individuals, one carrying a suitcase, alleged to be attempting to relocate to the parish. Officers were called in and they were taken from the location. It is a matter that has become concerning to the mayor of Falmouth, Colin Gager, in a parish which has recorded its first COVID-19 case.
I would like to appeal to the citizens of Trelawney to be aware of their surroundings. Take note of those who are coming in and seeking refuge, because this isn't the time to be playing around. This is a serious game for Trelawney. And if it gets out, the damage is gonna be great here.
Though the migration of the residents remain a concern to many, the mayor pointed out that there are issues, especially in the markets.
In Trinidad and Tobago, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasram has confirmed that surveillance testing for COVID-19 has started. He says one health center in each of the 8 counties in Trinidad and 1 in Tobago has been sending a sample a day for testing.
The Caribbean Public Health Agency will give me a disaggregated report for those particular patients as separate from the other samples they are receiving. Hopefully in the next 2 days or so we should start to see those results coming forward as well.